Well, we can't have everything. We can't have everything we want in life. Sometimes we can't. We gotta lose close games like this. Welcome in to the PHNX D-Backs podcast, right here on PHNX, right here at Almost Home in Chicago. My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as the mayor of Wrigley Field, and I'm joined here by my man Pfaadt, aka Jacob Franklin, on the ones and twos, as well as my son Jesse Friedman will be joining us shortly from inside of that baseball cathedral over there. But the Diamondbacks do lose today's game by a score of 2-1 in 10 innings, and this one was a real pitcher's duel that went down at Wrigley Field. I mean, Shota Imanaga was absolutely outstanding today against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He had Diamondbacks hitters absolutely baffled, allowing only 2 hits and 1 earned runs with 10 strikeouts. We also have some late inning managerial decisions to not only dissect but criticize quite a bit. That probably cost the Snakes this game, but the team did not lose today due to Brandon Pfaadt, because Brandon Pfaadt was outstanding. Pfaadt had his entire arsenal today. Everything was working for him, and I knew he was going to have a good day when I heard the radio broadcast talk about his last name on the air. The Chicago radio broadcast was talking about how Brandon Pfaadt spells his name P-F-A-A-D-T. That's weird, huh? And I was like, is it his decision how he spells his last name?
No, I'm pretty sure that dates back hundreds of years.
I'm pretty sure it dates back hundreds of years, but whether you spell it Pfaadt or you spell it Pfaadt, it doesn't matter. My man fought hard today. He had, like I said, his full arsenal working, his fastball, his sweeper, his sinker, his changeup. He had whiffs on all of those. He had 2 whiffs on his fastball, 5 whiffs on his sweeper, a whiff on his sinker, and 4 whiffs on his changeup. So we got to see Brandon Pfaadt at his absolute best today against a Chicago Cubs team that honestly has not been very great offensively. We've had to hear quite a bit from Cubs fans here about the offensive struggles of this team, but today the Diamondbacks did their fair share of struggling. They did not give Brandon Pfaadt very much offense.
That's right? The Brandon Pfaadt curse.
It really is, because we either get Brandon Pfaadt to be outstanding for his entire appearance outside of 1 inning,
sure,
or we get no run support for Brandon Pfaadt.
I mean, he's 4 and 6 right now.
That's crazy.
And he's quite possibly, and I understand pitcher wins don't really matter because it's so impacted by what goes on.
Yeah, it's arbitrary, right?
It's hard to watch a guy go out there and shove every 5th day and be 4 and 6.
He gave up 1 hit, no runs in 7 innings. He was absolutely fabulous today. Brandon Pfaadt, 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. And we also, I think we got to figure out a little bit more on a personal level about Brandon Pfaadt, Jacob and I think we got to see Brandon Pfaadt's pregame ritual. Which
it's unique.
It's unique, but it also makes a whole lot of sense. We've talked at times about how Pfaadt remains so calm, so even-keeled in these big moments.
Even in his interviews. Like he's just kind of like, I'm here. I'm that guy.
I'm going to correct you on the pronunciation of Louisville, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's going to do. But what we saw today pregame was Brandon Pfaadt listening to some very calming music. We had some Michael Bublé in there.
Some Maroon 5. Like we had Sunday morning Maroon 5.
A little Sunday morning. Yeah, a little Jack Johnson was in there. Banana Pancakes.
That was relaxed. I was in the clubhouse this morning, and I was like, man, I can sit in one of these chairs, watch some golf, vibe to the music.
Go get myself a little peanut butter sandwich from the
Then our search started, because it became like it was like the first song kind of took everybody as surprise. Like, this is an interesting pump-up song before the game.
Now, no pump-up. This was not a pump-up mix. This was
right. And then it kept going, and then it became a game. Okay, who's on the playlist?
Yeah. Who's got the aux cord right now? And eventually we narrowed it down.
People kept leaving the room.
It was basically down to like Joe Mantiply
or Mantiply or Pfaadt.
Yeah, right. And you put 2 and 2 together there. Kevin Ginkel, there's nothing calm about that man. I'm surprised he's able to sit there in a chair without just screaming randomly. So, if he had the aux cord, it would be some AC/DC, Metallica, something insane would probably be playing. And then, I don't know about Joe Mantiply.
No, I mean he strikes me as a big country guy.
Big country guy, right?
Sure. I mean, but Brandon Pfaadt being from Louisville is also, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he had some country in there. But it was hard to tell.
Right.
And it just kind of all of a sudden dawned on us that it was like, is this his pregame? Like, on the days he starts, does he just take aux?
He had a little notepad, and I told Jacob, I'm like, the kids, they use iPads typically or other more electronic devices. Little notepad, little ink pen action. Looked like he was very much in his element, and you could see that translate onto the field today with his performance. Of course, why are we talking about Brandon Pfaadt this much? Because he deserves it. The rest of this team deserves not to be talked about at all, but we have to talk about Torey Lovullo's managerial decisions there because there's a good chance that they cost this team the game. The offense, though, again, didn't give Brandon Pfaadt much support today. In fact, they did the minimum. They did the minimum amount of support. They did the least amount you could do. They got
one. Well, no, they had one.
They had
the
one.
least you could do is 0.
I don't know. I mean, if you're calling it run support.
Wait, is 0 higher than 1 in some new world?
No. Like 0 is like a absolute abject failure. 1 is like you.
We did it.
You took me out to dinner last minute on my birthday, but you didn't buy me a card. You didn't get me a present, right? You didn't plan anything special. But, of course, they did manage 1 run on 2 hits, and that 1 run was an Eugenio Suarez home run that probably landed somewhere near where we are right now. He hit that son of a bitch right out of the ballpark. I'm sure it was the first time that those folks up in the Wrigley bleachers there on the Wrigley rooftops got a chance to see a home run come their way, but it was his 11th dinger of the year. The only other hit was a Randall Grichuk single off of Shota Imanaga, fairly harmless, and that's probably a good label for the Diamondbacks offense today and in this series, fairly harmless. Like, they kind of showed out a little bit in Game 1, but the Diamondbacks really didn't manage a whole lot of offense against the Cubs in this series.
No, they were going to be, like, the starting pitching, although the numbers, we're going to pull them up later, and they don't really fully look all that amazing for the starting pitching, but, like, they faced Steele, Hendricks, and Imanaga. And, like, he's legit. After watching him today, like, he's got legit stuff. They got to Steele in Game 1, and Hendricks was actually riding, like, a hot streak coming into this series.
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. They did enough to win today. Unfortunately, like, they didn't do well, but they definitely, like,
well, did the Diamondbacks?
They were ahead heading into the 9th inning.
Did they deserve to win this one? Did they deserve to win a baseball game?
I mean, the Cubs didn't look particularly great.
You're right.
So, like,
you're right.
It goes both ways, right? Like, did the Cubs deserve to win this either? Probably not.
No. But there were a couple of incredible plays made defensively by both teams. Mike Tauchman had an incredible play on a Perdomo foul ball that absolutely, even though it wouldn't have gone for a hit or anything,
it was a nice
still
play.
really nice play. And then Christian Walker laying down flat on the ground with the tip of his toe on first base to make a play. Where do you see that? Where have you seen that? Where have you seen a first baseman laying out like that? That was fairly incredible. So, we had some great defense all around. Again, today was a day where defense and pitching reigned supreme. You have one team getting 2 hits, one team getting 4 hits. Neither team really deserved, I guess you could say, to win this game, right? But what we do have is, the Diamondbacks here coming out on the back end of things, and the main reason why is how things played out late with the bullpen. Torey made some very questionable moves in this game that most likely cost them. He first goes to Justin Martinez for the 3rd day in a row. For the first time in his career, Justin Martinez has never been called upon to do that. He also just had a rough weekend here in Chicago. Not only did he not register a single out in the game on Friday, but then he comes into this game. He was good yesterday. We said that. We were very proud of the way the bullpen performed yesterday, and the Diamondbacks needed that with their lack of offense in that win. But in this one, you have J. Mart come in. He struggles with his command once again. He gives up the tying run in the 9th inning. His line gives up 1 inning pitch, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 0 strikeouts. A lot of things you could question there. There were some other available pitchers that maybe didn't put in as much work as Justin Martinez did. I mean, You could have looked to Ryan Thompson or perhaps Kevin Ginkel. I mean, I know
Ginkel pitched more than Martinez did in the first 2 games. So that, before the game, that ruled him out for me. Thompson was probably the name that I went to the most, that I was like, all right, that makes some sense here. But all Ginkel, Thompson, and Sewald, they both all 3 of them pitched every game in this series before this game.
Yeah. Well, and
so it's a tough decision, right? You and I talked about maybe leaving Jarvis in for a second inning.
I mean, Jarvis usually is your guy that gives you multiple innings of work, and he did only walk one in his inning of work. I mean, you could say that. I know. Here's what it comes down to. Justin Martinez, right? I mean, he is the guy that a lot of people want to see in these big game. They want him the closer. They want him to be the closer. They want him in high leverage situations. And so far, what we've seen out of him lately is not being consistent.
It's a 22-year-old kid that when you put him in leverage is struggling a little bit.
Right. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the other options are, but I felt like there were better options for Torey to go to here, right? And then in extra innings, things get more bizarre, right? Like you already have that questionable decision from Torey Lovullo there that Martinez goes out there, he gives up the tying run. But then with the ghost runner on second base in the top or bottom of the 10th, they opt to intentionally walk Dansby Swanson. Miguel Amaya loads the bases with a bunt single, and then PCA flies out to Gurriel for one out, but you have the bases loaded. And then Torey Lovullo opts to put in Humberto Castellanos. And I know this has worked out for this team at one point this season, but it didn't work out today. And I thought that it was a bizarre move because I really thought that even though you're not having the best matchup, at least Joe Mantiply was out there. At least Joe Mantiply was throwing strikes, and he could, he could at least
try and induce a double play.
Do something better than Humberto Castellanos going out there and walking Nico Horner and walking in the winning run. Like, it felt like bad decisions all around. It felt like this bullpen wasn't properly managed throughout this series with the idea that they could win all 3 games. And I mean, I also feel like Torey just overmanaged this game late and didn't trust his guys, right? Like, you're putting Joe Mantiply out there and you're pulling him in that situation. It just felt, I don't know.
You got to, at the end of the day, like, I do agree that there were some questionable things that Torey pulled. And I am not, I'll sit here and say I'm not one to criticize Torey all that often. Sometimes you just have to hope that your players go into the moment that you put them in and perform. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you hope that the string you pull is the right one. And I've said this before, it's not just Torey. At the end of the day, he's the one that walks out of the dugout. He makes the move. But these are all consultations between him and his staff. Could Strom have told him, J-Mart's ready to go today?
Yeah.
Like, that's the guy. Because here's the thing. Thompson, Ginkel, and Sewald, they're not multi-inning guys unless they're, 10 pitches or less. Usually if you see them in the 15-pitch range, they're not going to pitch the next day. On multiple occasions, we have seen Justin Martinez pitch 2 and 3 inning stints. So does that factor into why he gets the 9th inning there? Right? He'd only thrown 1 inning in the last game, didn't even finish it, didn't even record it out in the first game. Like, maybe his pitch count provided for the fact that he was the only one available in the 9th inning. However, I think there are other, for me, I crossed off Thompson, Ginkel, Sewald. I figured none of those guys were getting in the game. Yeah. So it comes down to, do you want Castro, Vieira,
crossed off
or Jarvis?
Martinez.
Sure,
that,
I think we all did. So I was a little confused by that. Like, I honestly probably, the decision I would have made would have been just leave Jarvis in. If he blows it, cool.
Right.
But, I don't know about putting a guy in for a 3rd straight day coming out of a break.
Right. Well, and this is why Mike Hazen made the comments about trading for a bullpen arm and not caring whether it's a lefty or a righty at this point. I know a lot of people think because Mantiply is the only left-hander in the bullpen that the Diamondbacks are automatically looking for a lefty, but I think they're just looking for bodies that they can rely on right now at the trade deadline, and hopefully the Diamondbacks are able to pick somebody up because you have guys you can count on, but you can't count on them every day. That's just a way it goes. And yes, you have 4 guys you can count on. Maybe you could say 3 with one that you're still a little bit hesitant on. Maybe you could even say 2. Relievers are shaky at times, so it's not going to be like you're always going to get these incredibly consistent performances. It felt like over the last month we've seen a little bit of, inconsistency. Ryan Thompson had a bad outing. We know Paul Sewald's had a few of them. Now we have had Justin Martinez kind of going through his struggles. In fact, the Diamondbacks only lose lately when their pitching kind of falls apart, and Jacob has the numbers to kind of back that up. Jacob, what do you got for me?
It's been a rough.
He had to take a deep sigh before he gets to
nobody
this.
could see that. So they've lost their last 6 losses. Let's just walk through these. Blown 9th inning save. Blown 9th inning save.
Ugh.
4-run loss.
That one's all right.
Sure.
That's just a loss.
Yeah, it's a loss. You lost to the Braves by 4 runs.
Yeah.
All right, this is where it gets interesting.
Oh, no. Let me take a drink.
Blown save after a 7-run comeback, or blown lead after they tied the game. I don't think they ever took the lead in that game. Blown lead, and 2 more blown 9th inning saves.
That's not great. It's not great. It's not great. Ernesto in the chat says Tanner Scott solves 2 problems, and you're not wrong. He absolutely solves 2 problems. We'll see what happens with that. I mean,
I want to bring up the fact that the chat is kind of harping on us a little bit here. Why are you spending so much time on Torey in the bullpen when the offense is the real reason that this team lost this game?
Oh, you guys are going to do that
so
to
hang on.
I think you're going to do that to us.
I think realistically why we're at this point where we are right now, we understand that the offense scored 1 run and had 2 hits. I think that's the obvious storyline to this game, right? But how long can I sit here and say, you know what, the offense didn't do their job today. Let me just go down the lineup and say, oh, he was 0 for 4. Oh, he was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Like, the offense is the obvious point, right? You have to talk about.
I've even done this, and you people came for me when it came to that, right? Yes, the Diamondbacks had a lead late. Like, yes, you could say they should have done more, but they had a lead in the 9th inning, right? And I mean, obviously,
they put them in a position to win.
No team
it sucked, but they put them in a position to win.
No team is perfect. No team is perfect when they have a lead late, right? The good teams find a way to hold on to those leads late, and the Diamondbacks have been able to do that lately. But again, it's you are right, and that's why I went back to I feel crazy. Did I not say like the Diamondbacks didn't deserve to win this game, and the reason was because of the lack of offense? Like, the lack of offense really does feel like the Diamondbacks should have lost this game from the go, right? If you tell me that the Diamondbacks scored 1 run on 2 hits, I'm not even going to assume that they were in the game, right? So for them to have a lead late, to have a chance to win the game, is something that, of course, you got to give them credit for, and you got to kind of wipe out the rest of the game up to that point, because here we are late, 1-run lead. Doesn't matter if it was 7-6. It doesn't matter if it was 3-2, right? In this case, it was 1-0. The bullpen, you need to find a way to get out of that 9th inning.
Pitchers. Here's the thing about baseball: pitchers duels are going to happen, right? Like, there is no way around the fact that there are going to be days where your offense does not score runs. Guess what? The Cubs offense also didn't score runs.
Right, they scored 2.
Right, let's get to that point. They didn't score 1 until the 9th inning.
Yeah.
Right? Like, pitchers duels are going to happen. What separates good teams from bad teams is good teams find a way to win games. Like, to me, the bullpen is the most important piece of a team, like a good team, right?
Thunderbolt's pointing out how much I'm sweating.
It is hot in here.
That's not fair. Jacob's also sweating.
It is hot, and I don't sweat.
Yeah,
that's
he really
the thing. And like, so it's warm in here.
He's like
for
a dog. He just pants, and the moisture comes out of his tongue mostly. But I mean, yeah, this game is one of those games where there's a lot of places you can place blame, right? I will say the offense, yeah, they didn't do enough. The bullpen couldn't hold that late lead. Torey Lovullo made some questionable managerial moves, and those are all of the reasons why this game ended up with the Diamondbacks losing 2-1. It sucks. It feels like this team's allergic to sweeping another team, but the one, I guess, silver lining is Brandon Pfaadt was incredible, and he is our king snake for today's game. Brandon Pfaadt, again, went out there. He gave you 7 innings, allowed 1 hit, 1 walk, no runs, struck out 7. I mean, it might be time to start just admitting that Brandon Pfaadt is our ace. It might be that time.
Yeah, I mean, if Gallen assumes form, like, he's clearly better than Brandon Pfaadt when he is pitching at his top level. Yeah. Not to say that Brandon Pfaadt can't get there, but right now, Zach Gallen, prime Zach Gallen, he's better than Brandon Pfaadt. Yeah. Merrill Kelly comes back next month, probably better than Brandon Pfaadt. However, to sit here and say that Brandon Pfaadt is my 3 or 4 at that level of competition, I'm pretty content in that situation. I'm really content.
Yeah. And honestly, the Diamondbacks, they're going to evolve. They're going to change. I don't know how that's going to impact, the bullpen. But one thing you could look back on, and we're going to look at it in the numbers today, is the Diamondbacks had 2 of their starters, one go 5 2/3 in this series, and one go 5 innings, right? And the Diamondbacks aren't getting very much length out of their starters, and it is putting pressure on their bullpen. We know they have guys they can rely on. Torey, unfortunately, is going to those guys too often, and I feel like we're starting to see, obviously the negative effects to that with, J Mart going out there and struggling like he did here in Chicago. But we do thank you guys so much for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. You guys are the real MVPs of this series. Go Snakes, go. I had a whole song I was going to sing, and now I can't because they lost, but, you have the Walker song to get you by. But we thank you guys for being here. Make sure you subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel while you're here. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our shows go live. Leave us a like. Every like makes a bead of sweat go away from my head. So I need as many likes as I can get. Of course, if you're listening on the audio podcasting side, you definitely can't see me being a sweaty mess. But what you can do is subscribe on your favorite audio podcasting app if you haven't done so already. Of course, leave us a review. Those reviews mean the world to us, especially those 5-star reviews. If you, right now, are here, you know already what we do here, and you know it's time for us to take a look at the count presented by Desert Financial Credit Union. But this is the post-series count. This one's going to get a little weird. The Diamondbacks outscore the Chicago Cubs in this series by a score of 9-4. They out-hit the Cubs in this series by 20-14. Oh, well, no, they ended up getting those 2 more hits, so I think it's 20-16. We might have completed this graphic before that point, but
whoa. What were they?
I think they were 20-16, or we were the Diamondbacks 20 hits. I think the Cubs had 16.
Oh, I added them up.
You know what the problem was is that we put the numbers in when this was in the 9th inning, and then they scored more runs, or they got more hits. So that's the only reason why that's incorrect. But Diamondbacks in this series, 5 for 26 with runners in scoring position. Cubs were 4 for 22. Starting ERA, very, very good for the Diamondbacks, 1.23 in this one. They only allowed 1 earned run in Ryan Nelson's start between their 3 starting pitchers. 4.86 starting ERA for the Cubs. Relief ERA, blanked there. Both teams very good, 1.86 ERA for the Diamondbacks. Obviously, the majority, 1 run given up today, 1 run allowed in the first game of the series. And then Cubs bullpen, they just look immaculate. And this is something the Diamondbacks can't continue to let happen. I don't understand how the Diamondbacks find a way to consistently make opposing bullpens look so good. But this is another series where that's the case. Diamondbacks do win the series, though, 2-1. And overall, you have to be pretty satisfied. I know that there are probably a lot of fans upset about the way today's game ended, and understandably so, especially when you felt like this one was so close to being a win for the Diamondbacks. It's frustrating to see the way it played out, but the Diamondbacks now head out to Kansas City to see if they can keep this winning ways rolling, get over this loss. I do want to say, though, we have had an absolute blast here at Almost Home and over at Murphy's Bleachers. We've had a blast with our CHGO friends here in Chicago, but we have absolutely had a blast at Wrigley Field. I know this probably isn't, I know you're not going to like this because maybe you're still mad at the Cubs, and you can be, but Wrigley Field is a place that I recommend that every Diamondbacks fan takes a trip up to.
Incredible.
Not only do the Diamondbacks tend to do very good here when they come here and play the Cubs, but there's a pretty decent presence. We've got to meet a lot of great Diamondbacks fans out here, some of them from the Chicago area. Shout out to our guy Evan, who was wonderful. He came and met us up at Murphy's Bleachers. We also got a chance to speak to him wearing a Snakes Alive shirt today at the game. But we got let in on a lot of information about Wrigley Field. One thing that's kind of interesting about this stadium is that it's kind of here in the middle of a neighborhood. So things are just so much different here. This is like a different world of baseball. Since they're in the middle of a neighborhood, that's why they mostly have day games. And that's something that a lot of people, including myself, didn't really know. They try to keep it not very loud at night. Also, the PA system, not as loud as other stadiums. Jesse very much enjoys that. He loves how subdued the the PA system here is. And
Yeah,
again,
he likes the organ, no DJ music.
Oh, I love the organ.
The organ's great.
The organ's great.
It does. We talked about this. I think it does get a little bare when the organ's not playing. You need a little ambiance.
It's very traditional for me,
Sure.
though. Like, I like the organ being the, all of the music, right? And that's kind of a lot of fun to watch is we got to see the organ player doing his thing up there. And my God, it looks like something out of the Muppets that, one of the Dr. Teeth would play or something like that. But they did not add lights to Wrigley Field until 1988. I was born. I was playing with trucks and shit when they added lights to that stadium. I know I talk about how old I am, but I am not old enough to be that old to be around when they added lights to a baseball stadium that had been around for a long time that didn't already have lights. Again, another reason why, because they didn't want to disturb the residents. It feels like everything about Wrigley Field is trying not to bother the kind residents of Chicago that live around this building. But we did get a chance to also check out the Wrigley rooftops, which that's something people have asked me a little bit about. That's very interesting. Tickets for those range from about $150 to $200.
All you can eat, though, on some of them.
They are all you can eat, some of them, right? They have like a little...
Correct.
Yeah, and then they also, from our friend Jody Jackson from the MLB broadcast, she told us that it is very similar to like the view you get at Chase Field from being up in like the cold beers and cheeseburgers. So I found that to be fascinating. Also, those numbers for the Wrigley rooftops, which are all owned by the Ricketts family, by the way, who own the Cubs, they are not part of the paid attendance for the stadium. So when we were there on Friday, which is an insane day, cannot believe so many people play hooky in this town to go watch baseball, but it was like 44,000 announced attendance, and again, that does not include those Wrigley rooftop seats. So I found that to be fascinating, Jacob. Not only did I find it to be fascinating that they don't include those, which I get in the attendance numbers, but I also just kind of
they're
found it
technically
interesting.
not in the ballpark,
Right,
but you're
right.
basically on the ballpark.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it's just hard to get an estimate of how many people are up there if you're not the tickets aren't coming from the team.
It's just weird. It was, I guess, from a perspective, it would be like counting the people in the hotel at the Rogers Center where Toronto plays that are like looking out their window. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I guess, I don't know, but is Jesse here? Was that what you were
Yes, that
telling
was
me?
what I was trying to tell you.
Jesse's here. Well, of course, we want to thank you guys for being PHNX diehards if you already are one. If you're not, go to gophnx.com and check out all of the options that we have for you at Die Hard. Not only do you get yourself a free t-shirt from the PHNX locker, but you'll get yourself so much more, including all of our content, including Jesse's written content. Get access to our Discord lounge with even more content just for diehards. And, of course, it is the greatest place to be an Arizona sports fan, as well as all sorts of benefits, including discounts on our events and so much more. So make sure to join the family over at gophnx.com. And also make sure to come out and play some pickleball with us. We have our pickleball tournament out at Chicken and Pickle, and that is this Saturday, I believe. I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore.
Derek, we've been on the road entirely too long for me to know this off the top of my head.
Did the Chicken and Pickle thing pass?
I think it is this Saturday.
It's still coming up, right?
A week from yesterday.
I don't even know what day it is. He told me it's Sunday. I don't believe him. I have no way to verify that, but of course, make sure if you are in the Valley, you check out our wonderful pickleball tournament. Find a friend, come join us, and maybe win yourself some prizes and bragging rights over who's really amped. It's you and Max, right? Is it you and Max as a team?
Yeah.
These guys, their heads are way too big, so I need some qualified pickleball players.
Hang on. Max's head is too big.
Yeah, these guys, they think they're special. Don't get me and Saul on the court together because we are absolute problems for people, but speaking of problems
for each other, there's some internal turmoil on that team.
I love him so much. Well, speaking of problems for people, here's my problem child, your Thunderstick, my vice mayor, the one and only Jesse Friedman, coming to us from Wrigley Field. Jesse Friedman, this one kind of hurt a little bit, and we absolutely had some moves by Torey Lovullo that we had to question, even though, I don't do that often on this show.
Yeah, a tough situation for the D-backs where they had several relievers down, Paul Sewald, Kevin Ginkel, Ryan Thompson, all down in this game for the D-backs. I know some people maybe not too happy about that, and I can understand why. Back-to-back-to-backs are not something we see too often, but they do happen. At the same time, you could understand Torey Lovullo wanting to be cautious and knowing that it is a long season and that you do want to give guys some rest. You don't want to burn guys out immediately coming out of the All-Star break. So I think my biggest takeaway here on the front end, Derek, is just that the Diamondbacks could use another reliever, right? As we look ahead to the trade deadline 9 days from now, games like this are why the D-backs could use one more guy that you trust in the back end, to finish off one of these games. And from my conversation that I had with Mike Hazen yesterday, that's exactly what he said the D-backs are looking for, someone who can pitch in the 7th inning or later, whether it be a lefty or a righty. And, a guy like that could have made a world of difference in a game like this. Yeah,
instead Torey has to turn to Humberto Castellanos. They're late. And, I know that I guess the low-hanging fruit is to question Torey Lovullo here, right? And, that makes all the sense in the world. But we also knew that coming into this game, Torey's options as far as bullpen arms were going to be kind of limited. He did say prior to the game that everybody was pretty much available. However, he also said, we also know the reality of the situation. J Mart gets used for third day in a row for the first time in his career. Is that right? The first time he's had 3 outings in 3 straight days?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe it is.
And it's like you can blame Torey, and that's fine. At the end of the day, the pitchers are the ones that need to get the job done. And, Torey can't constantly avoid some of his bullpen just because they're unreliable. I know that's what managers do, but eventually it's going to catch up to you when the usage of your other guys is too high.
Absolutely, yeah. We've seen this for sure with this Diamondbacks team. That at a certain point, you just run guys into the ground a little bit too much, and it does backfire on you. Yeah. I remember a game that Kevin Ginkel pitched last year against the New York Yankees, I believe it was, where he was pitching on a 3rd day straight, and he looked nothing like the same guy. And a lot of relievers, it's a similar story. They're not as good on back-to-backs, and they're especially not as good on back-to-back-to-back. So, as much as it might be easy to look at a game like this and say, if Ginkel and Sewald pitch in the 8th and 9th, this game is over. Maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. You don't necessarily know what relievers are going to look like, even if they have been really good on a 3rd straight day. So a lot of what if that you can play with this game for sure.
Well, I know you have more from Torey. What did he have to say in regards to J Mart and Humberto Castellanos there late in this game?
Yeah, if we have that video. If we have it, Let's go ahead and roll Torey's comments on that.
Yeah, we had 3 pieces down in the bullpen today, and we got to remember it's a long season, and we're going to have, some grinding days ahead, and we need those guys to stay healthy and be strong. So, 3 of the 4 were available. We talked about J Mart's availability, and we felt comfortable and confident that he was going to be able to give us that last inning if needed. So, it fell on him, and he, was close to doing his job. Unfortunately, he just couldn't close it out.
And then was Mantiply, did you consider him at all in that spot?
Yeah, there's some tough matchups for him in there, and I trust Joe. I've seen him go out there and get lefties and righties out, but I was saving him for a particular situation. It didn't quite arise, but yeah, of course I did. Joe's a very trusted reliever, and he's got big outs for us. But J Mart was the target; he was the guy, and I felt like he deserved that opportunity.
Castellanos, it's obviously that's a tough spot.
Yeah.
Game on the line coming out of the break. Anything you point to there?
The pitches were close, and there's very little wiggle room. He's a strike thrower, and that's why he was the guy that I chose. And I just, unfortunately didn't land the pitches where he wanted to. But sometimes this game doesn't make sense. You get 2 pitchers that are just going at it. You're ahead 1-0 with 3 outs to go, and you don't get the job done. But the beauty of it is there's a game tomorrow.
Jesse, as much as he says that, and again, I am a Torey Lovullo apologist, I will have to say I question whether or not he trusted Joe Mantiply. I don't think he did. I know he was trying to use him situationally, but I felt like when you go to a guy there in extra innings, it's like a closer. It's like a save situation. You should be going to a guy that you trust to get through the inning and not just to go after a couple of batters, especially when you decide to intentionally walk the very first batter of the inning.
I mean, the way that 10th inning played out was pretty brutal, right? D-backs opt to intentionally walk Dansby Swanson. Then you have a bunt single, and then you have, Mantiply was able to record 1 out on Pete Crow Armstrong, and then it rolls around to the top, and you've got a walk to finish the game. Obviously, Humberto Castellanos struggled to throw a strike. So the Cubs didn't really earn anything in that 10th inning, Derek. I guess you have to tip your cap for the infield hit on the bunt. That was a really impressive bunt. There wasn't a whole lot that Mantiply could do in a spot like that. But yeah, I think I see people in the comments saying you guys are defending Torey too much or whatnot. I don't really think that we're defending Torey too much. You could survey managers around the league, like how comfortable are you going 3 in a row. I think a lot of managers would probably do what Torey did today and stay away from using those guys a third straight day, especially given that it's July. If it's September, maybe a different story. The one thing that I think you can criticize here, Derek, potentially, is that Torey Lovullo did not hold somebody back yesterday. Maybe Torey yesterday could have decided, okay, Ginkel, Sewald, Thompson, Martinez, I'm willing to use 3 of those guys to get to a win today. With D-backs had a little bit of a bigger lead yesterday. They wound up winning by 3 runs. Maybe in a game like that, you're willing to use 3 of those guys, but you hold back 1 guy so that you're in a better position if you have a close game today. That's the one thing that I think is a fair criticism, that maybe Torey should have done that. But at the same time, it's even that's not obvious necessarily. I mean, what are people saying yesterday if you put in a Bryce Jarvis or you put in somebody else into one of those innings and they blow the game? And I mean, you had a 3-run lead, so that feels unlikely. But if that happens, then you really felt like you let a game slip away just because you were trying to save relievers for a finale where you didn't know what was going to happen. So it's the ultimate what if situation. These kinds of things happen in baseball all the time. Ultimately, for as much as we can talk about the bullpen, I think you also have to talk about the D-backs offense, which really did not do much of anything in this game. Gino obviously came through with the big homer. That was an absolute shot, 417 feet. I'm pretty sure it left Wrigley Field. That went a long way. But outside of that, the D-backs just really weren't able to get anything going. They didn't score a single run against a Cubs reliever, which, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't score against a Cubs reliever the entire series. Which is a bit of a problem, something that I feel like has come up in the past with this team as well. They've certainly performed better in the earlier innings of games than the later innings, and that certainly bit them here today.
10 hits by both teams yesterday, 6 hits today by both teams. Neither team has their offense rolling, and this one was absolutely a crapshoot late. There are people, yes, Jesse, there are people who are saying that we don't blame Torey enough, but those people obviously were not watching this entire episode, because we had an entire segment blaming Torey and the bullpen, and then we were chastised for not going after the offense. Like, nothing worked great for this team today, but again, I will reiterate, whether it's a 7-6 lead, whether it's 10-9, whether it's 1-0, this team had a lead in the 9th inning. So I don't want to hear the shit about the offense when the team blew it in the 9th inning, right? Like, there are close games, and sometimes you only have a 1-run lead in a close game. When you go and Paul Sewald blows it, that's a situation where you have to kind of blame Sewald. But I felt like this game was a game where you could criticize Torey, not only for the managerial moves in this game, but like you said, Jesse, maybe some of the managerial moves that predated this, right, in the last 2 games that then lead to him being in the situation that he's in, right? Really what it comes down to is the Diamondbacks need some more relievers, and right now, Torey unfortunately only has a few guys he can count on, but the starting pitching situation is getting better, and I don't know if the Diamondbacks really need to do much to address that with the guys they have returning, but also with the way Brandon Pfaadt pitched today. Brandon Pfaadt was just absolutely outstanding, and not enough can be said about him going out there giving this team 7 innings of 1 hit, no run, performance.
He was so good in this game, Brandon Pfaadt. This might have been the best start of his career, frankly. I mean, 7 innings, 1 hit. no runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. I don't think he's ever had an outing quite, he's had some good outings. He's pitched 7 scoreless before, I do think, but it's never been quite as clean and tidy as this one was. This was really, really good. I mean, the only hit he allowed was an infield single to Christopher Morel in the 2nd inning. Outside of that, he was, pretty close to having a no-hitter going. The D-backs had only allowed 1 hit as a team going into that 9th inning, which makes this even tougher of a game to let get away. But Brandon Pfaadt over, his last several times out has just been outstanding for this team. And you look on the whole for this season, Derek, no D-back starter has given the team more value than Brandon Pfaadt. I feel confident I can say it that way. You could say that Brandon Pfaadt has been the best starter on the Diamondbacks this season, and I don't think that would be crazy to say either. His ERA and Zach Gallen's ERA, I don't have them in front of me, but they're very, very close to each other. Pfaadt has certainly been pitching deeper in games on average as well. So I think there's a pretty good case to be made that Pfaadt has just been the best starter on the team this year on an inning-for-inning basis. But certainly with the fact that he hasn't gotten hurt this year, he's the one guy who's managed to stay in this rotation through and through from opening day. I mean, he has been a huge asset for this team this year. And obviously he's in a different category as a lot of the other guys in this rotation. He's going to be here for a long time. He's a building block for this team. He's the first starting pitcher in a very long time who has come up through the D-back system and had a lot of success in the big leagues. It's hard to say enough about his development here, especially over the last few weeks.
And we have more from Torey Lovullo about Brandon Pfaadt and his performance today. Here's what Torey had to say.
Not really. The run he got on last year in September and late in the year, and then the postseason, I felt like he was poised and ready to be able to do something like this. And I know I say it every time the same way. It's like 6 innings, just book it. He's going to pitch you deep into the game, and he knows how to change speeds, maneuver the baseball around the zone, and there's great mound presence and a lot of composure. So he's going to find himself in a lot of games like this for sure.
AZ Bubba in our chat says, also one thing I want to note, Corbin sitting a game after hitting a homer is odd. If we want Corbin to get the ball rolling, wouldn't you want him to get starts back-to-back? Same thing with Alec Thomas. Alec Thomas also hit a home run today. He also sat. It's another one of those things that you could easily criticize about Torey, and I would not stop you from doing so. However, there's also talk in the chat, Jesse, about giving Shota Imanaga his flowers here a little bit. This guy has been incredible all year long. There's no reason why this should be a surprise considering the numbers that he's put up, but he was very good against the Diamondbacks, and that's a big reason why we saw this team fall flat. And, of course, we know they didn't do much yesterday offensively, so it shouldn't be much of a surprise that today, against one of the best pitchers in the National League this season, the Diamondbacks weren't able to get much more than 1 run.
He's so good. Yeah, I mean, just as a baseball fan in general, I enjoyed watching Shota Imanaga do his thing today. He's throwing a ton of strikes, filling up the zone. It's mostly 4-seam splitter. You see the occasional sweeper, the occasional curveball in there as well. Yeah, it's 91-92, Derek, but man, he's got some carry on that thing. Guys just don't really see it very well. D-backs hitters were getting underneath it all day. I don't think Shota Imanaga had a single ground ball in this game, or I guess I stand corrected. Randall Grishik's single.
He did. He had a single. Yes.
That was a ground ball. Outside of that, I believe that every single batted ball against Imanaga today for the Diamondbacks was in the air. So guys just having a really hard time staying on top of the fastball, even staying on top of the sweeper as well. So he's really, really good. It was fun to watch him and Brandon Pfaadt go to work in this game. And Imanaga had a no-hitter going well into the 6th inning. Pfaadt, in his 7 innings, as we said earlier, only allowed 1 hit the whole game, and that was an infield single. So one of the best pitching matchups, pitching duels that we've seen this season. It was a lot of fun to watch.
And not only that, but honestly, like he's just impressive. It's impressive, and I mean, you gotta tip your cap. But we also know that Torey was in a difficult position here. Diamondbacks offense didn't do much, but again, like I said, they had a late lead. Damon's in our chat saying that they should have done more for Brandon Pfaadt, and I want to fight Damon, but he's right. Brandon Pfaadt deserves more run support than this. It just still falls back on, at least for me, Jesse, the idea that they had a lead, right? And everything is 20/20 in hindsight, but when you get down to the 9th inning and you have a lead, when you don't convert, when you don't, obviously win the game with a late 1-run lead, you're gonna blame pitching, you're gonna blame, your manager, and both are getting blamed rightfully in this game. I just think that Torey is in a situation where he doesn't have a lot of options, and the ones he chose today weren't the right ones.
Elise makes a good point in the chat. She is right. The D-backs did have one other ground out as well against Shota Imanaga. That was Kevin Newman, which was the last out that Imanaga recorded in this game. So there were 2 ground balls altogether for the D-backs, not one. But I guess circling back to the bullpen thing real quick, we kind of talked about our perspective on the situation. Torey was asked another question on that, basically like, do you have any regrets as to the way that you handled things? Obviously, yesterday the D-backs were aggressive. Torey wanted to secure that series win and then kind of see how things played out today, knowing that he wouldn't have access to 3 of his best relievers. Here's what Torey had to say on that.
No doubt, a win is a win, and you got to chase them. And those guys have been proven to be able to go out there and do it. So yeah, I'm not going to second guess that at all.
Especially 3-0, I imagine, versus 1-0. I mean, that's just a tough.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I had to balance the 2 days. I would have probably chose, if I knew it was going to happen today, I would have chose yesterday over today and switched them up. But that's the beauty of this game. And no, I don't regret it at all. We won a series. We're going to continue to fight, and we're going to win more games.
Torey says that's the beauty of the game. I would choose a different word, Jesse, and I don't know which one, but it would probably be inappropriate to say in front of small children.
Yeah, that's sort of Torey's like go-to phrase when something didn't work out and is really, really frustrating.
It's the beauty of the game.
That's the beauty of the game. That's why we do this,
That's why we play the game on the field.
Yeah, so again, like I can see the case for maybe Torey should have held back a reliever yesterday. D-backs had a 3-run lead. They still would have been in a pretty good spot to win that game. But you can what if the heck out of this baseball game. You can think back to Friday's game as well, where the D-backs had numerous opportunities to really put the Cubs away and stretch out a pretty significant lead. They were unable to do that. And because of that, they did have to use all of their, top relievers to get out of there with a win. So there's a lot of different things you could point to. Ultimately, yes, I know people are talking in the chat about the sweep, the elusive sweep for the Diamondbacks this season.
Never.
How they still have
It'll never
just
happen.
one of those.
They're going to be mad at you for using the word.
Yeah, no brooms, no sweeping.
It doesn't matter if they're playing the Oakland A's or the Colorado Rockies or, however incompetent, I'm convinced, Derek, that you could put, just about any team in front of the Diamondbacks right now. It feels like they wouldn't find a way to come away with a sweep. So that's brutal for sure. I mean, this was right there for them. They were obviously just 3 outs away toward the end of this game, not being able to pull that out. But in the big picture, taking 2 out of 3 here in Chicago, there are much worse ways to start the second half of the season than that.
You're not wrong, but with Torey Lovullo, one other thing I would like to criticize, and I don't know if you want to sign off on this or agree with me or not, but Torey tends, and we've heard this from him out of his own mouth, he tends to say the goal is to win the series. And he's even said, like, sweeping isn't necessarily like the success or the focus, right? When he says that, it might be frustrating to Diamondbacks fans, but the team has another game tomorrow in Kansas City that he has to start managing in his head 3 days ago before he even started this Cubs series, right? So it's like, yes, sometimes it's frustrating to us, but Torey is looking at a bigger picture, and obviously things don't work out when you don't have a reliable bullpen that you can 100% count on all of the guys in there. No team probably has a bullpen where they can count on all of their guys in their bullpen, but it does. That's the thing I think we forget about when we get mad about stuff like this. It's because, in a way, yes, Torey might actually be sacrificing this game in a way so that he can win the next series, because that's kind of what he's thinking about, especially once they nailed the series win here with their win yesterday, right? But, I don't know. I don't know. It does feel a little bit like at times this team is too complacent with just taking 2 out of 3. And even though that'll get you, it'll get you back on track, there are times where you really need to go for the jugular against a team like this that obviously has been struggling offensively. And outside of Shota Imanaga, you know, they've not been extremely good, this Cubs team. They did come into the All-Star break, though, 7-3, and that's something to remember. They also had a 5-game winning streak, I think, right before the All-Star break. So at least the Diamondbacks were able to keep things on track, unlike the Cubs, where things kind of fell a little bit apart for them with that All-Star break. But I still can't get over what Brandon Pfaadt did today, Jesse. We talked about his arsenal. He was using his full arsenal. He was getting whiffs on a lot of different pitches today, but he got a lot of whiffs on his changeup.
He really did. Yeah, we asked, we of course talked to Brandon Pfaadt after this game, and he talked about the changeup as well as just his overall outing and what was working for him today. Here's what Brandon had to say.
I felt like I had everything going today. I think threw the changeup a lot today. Changeup was good. Slider was good, and I think we were able to locate the fastballs when needed in big spots, and I think that was a game changer today.
How different does the changeup feel now compared to maybe around this time last year?
It's the same pitch. I think the more I throw it, the better it gets, and nothing's changed about it. Compared to last year, I think just throwing it more, getting a better feel for it, working on it every day, I think it's eventually going to get better, and hopefully it's not done.
Has your confidence changed?
And the changeup? Yeah, I think so. It's always been a good pitch for me when it's on. I think just when I can find it being on more, I think more I can use it. When I don't use it in the games, it's hard to throw in a big spot and trust what it's going to do. So I think even if it's not good early, just keep throwing it, and it gets better as the game goes on. Then we can throw it in those big spots.
The more I throw it, the better it gets. That's terrifying for the league, Jesse. That is a frightening statement.
It's taken a huge step forward. I mean, I remember back to when Brandon Pfaadt made his major league debut, which was not that much more than a year ago right now, which is crazy to think about. And yeah, he just did not have a whole lot of confidence in the pitch. It was pretty clear that he wanted to stick with the fastball and the sweeper, and he was a little bit too predictable, I think. He didn't have the sinker early on when he first came up, and the changeup not being a pitch he was super confident in. You can understand why he had some struggles when he first got to the big leagues. Now you're seeing Pfaadt just have a whole lot of confidence in that pitch. I think he got 4 whiffs on 7 swings in this game today with the changeup, which are big numbers. He was getting a ton of swings on changeups outside the zone. When he can get guys to chase that pitch off the plate, it can be really, really effective for him. So yeah, I mean, Pfaadt is just continuing to emerge. He's not the same pitcher that he was a month ago. He's not the same pitcher that he was a year ago. He is continuing to get better. And we've heard Brent Strom, Derek, talk about how he thinks that Brandon Pfaadt is going to be an all-star at some point. And, I'll admit, I was like, okay, that's a bullish thing for Brent Strom to say. Based on what we've seen here recently, it's not all that hard to imagine.
Well, and he is becoming a consistent form of his post-series self from last year, and that's incredible to see. And the Diamondbacks need him, right? With what's going on, even with Zach Gallen, the Diamondbacks need a guy in their rotation that can come out here, eat up innings, and give them what Brandon Pfaadt has been giving them lately. So he's really becoming the guy we hoped he could be, and maybe thought he could be, and that's pretty fun to see. But, of course, it's time, Jesse. We know that Jacob, he lies to us all the time. He lied to me before the show. He lied to me during the show.
What did I lie to you about before and during?
I don't know.
No.
See, look, he wants to put me on. See,
Liar!
He doesn't understand.
You lie.
I'm lying
Derek
about
lies.
him lying. And he lied. He's a liar. Jesse's a liar. We're all liars, but of course the numbers, they never lie. What do you got, Jesse, for today's number that doesn't lie?
Yeah, today's number is 0.77, and that is, going back to Brandon Pfaadt, that is Pfaadt's ERA over his past 4 starts.
Holy
his ERA
God.
has gone, it's pretty good, Derek.
It's pretty good.
2 earned runs in 23 1/3 innings. He has 3 walks compared to 25 strikeouts in that span. His ERA has lowered from 4.60 down to, it is 3.77 now, I believe, and that's in the span of a little bit over a month that he's lowered his ERA by pretty much a full run. So he continues to, as we've been saying, he continues to look really, really good for this team. And in a year where Zach Gallen has been hurt and maybe not at his best, and Merrill Kelly has been hurt, and Eduardo Rodriguez has not thrown a pitch, and Jordan Montgomery has been sort of a disaster when he's been on the field, and obviously is hurt right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where the D-backs would be without Brandon Pfaadt, Derek. It's been huge what he's been able to bring.
They called the fire truck because Brandon Pfaadt's so hot right now, Jesse. He's so hot right now. They're coming to put him out. But I know this is the end of our journey, our trip here, not only through All-Star Week, but here in Chicago covering the team. I've had an absolute blast with you fellas. I'm surprised we haven't killed each other yet. But I do have one final question for both of you before we get out of here. The people in Chicago, they are very, very opinionated about their food. So I have to ask you both, what is the best thing that you guys have eaten on our road trip? Jacob, I'll start with you.
That's tough. Like the full road trip, including Texas, or just Chicago?
You can go to Texas.
Yeah, that barbecue is hard to beat.
The barbecue at Hurtado's barbecue.
Yeah, that barbecue was really
incredible.
hard to beat.
Yeah. Of course, Jesse didn't get to experience in that joy. But Jesse, what do you have for us? What's been your favorite meal so far?
That feels cruel for Jacob to pick something that I wasn't.
Listen, Jesse, the invite was out there. The invite is
fucking wild.
The invite was there. Hang on. He acts like he was not invited to this thing.
Like he wasn't busy doing work while you and I go eat barbecue. But that's fine. That's fine.
Make a decision.
It was All-Star Game Day, right? He was just doing interviews and just his job, but whatever. Let's rub it in his face. Jesse, what was your favorite thing that you had to eat on this trip?
Sorry, let me sound check. You guys still got me? I probably sound a little bit fuzzier than I did.
Yeah, we lost your microphone.
We lost your mic again. I'll give you mine while you're working on. Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right, as long as you can hear me, that's all I wanted to make sure of. So I would have to say probably Pequod's. I mean, getting some deep dish pizza here in Chicago. No free ads, but also free ads. Pequod's was.
We're absolutely giving out free ads on this segment, and I don't care what Max has to say. He's not here to stop me. And according to Jacob, he has a giant head now, so I don't even know if he could run very fast. I'm sure I could get away from him, but Pequod's, which. I mean, I can't tell you some of the remarks we've gotten because we went to Pequod's. It's amazing the opinion people have here on pizza. So if you want to fight people about pizza, come to Chicago. Come fight them about tavern style versus deep dish. Come fight them about what the different crusts all are. We've had extensive explanations to the different crusts that all the different pizza places have to offer. So. But I definitely enjoy Pequod's to say myself.
Is that your choice?
That's my choice.
Okay, so what I was going to say is...
You both hit my top two, though.
Yeah, so like what I really... We did have Italian beef already. We had Mr. Beef. It was delicious.
Mr. Beef was incredible.
I think I probably would have gone with something in Chicago.
Yeah.
But my only problem comes with when you say, oh, I really liked this place, somebody's like, well, that place sucks. You should have gone to this place.
He's not wrong.
And it makes me like it less.
Yeah, you bring us down. We're positive and your negativity
Although that
brings
sandwich
us down.
on day one,
the sandwich
JP
at
Graziano's,
JP Graziano's.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a close
mention.
Yeah, that's close.
The point being, if you come to Chicago or Texas, make sure to wear your stretchy pants. That's what I have to say in regards to that. And bring cash. Bring your cash with you. Some of these places, they don't take your debit card. But, Jesse, let's go get some food. We're here talking about food. I need you to come over here to the ballpark. I need you to come over here and get some food with me. Of course, we thank you guys for being here. We thank you so much for joining us throughout this entire journey. We'll be back tomorrow. Actually, we won't. We're flying back tomorrow. But we will be back on Tuesday with a post-game show after the Diamondbacks take on the Kansas City Royals. So make sure to join us back here for that. Again, we very much hope you enjoyed all of this coverage that we brought during this week. So we thank you guys again so much for being here. We thank you so much for your comments and for loving this Diamondbacks team, even if you're here to demand that Torey Lovullo loses his job today. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our producer, Jacob, is at Jacob_Franklin4 because he's the fourth best Jacob Franklin, but he's number one in my heart. And I do want to give a shout out to Jacob Franklin because he has been incredible on this trip. He has done an amazing job. I've asked him to do way too many things, and he has been amazing. So shout out to you, sir, for all of your wonderful work. Shout out to Jesse for letting me have fun while he goes and does all the tough work at the ballpark. But again, thank you to all of you guys for enjoying this content, for being here in the chat. We appreciate you guys so much. Of course, make sure to follow our show at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to @PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you again for stopping by. We hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and your Monday. We will see you back here on Tuesday. And until then, have a wonderful evening, have a wonderful day, and remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when we're doing these shows from the studio back home at PHNX.
We all silly like the mayor.